Origin space station. We are experiencing a nuclear meltdown. Immediate evacuation. I repeat, immediate evacuation.
Origin space station self-destruct sequence initiated. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Redout 2 Elite Tutorials. This episode is all about the concept that boosting is not free, and there is an opportunity cost both in terms of heat buildup and hull drain that you must be especially cognizant of in order to achieve the fastest ship speeds and realize your best times. We'll start then with looking at the Redout 2 HUD, as this can provide valuable information in order to help us with these different scenarios. Where my mouse is here on the leftmost part of the bottom ship HUD is the health meter, which will drain with ship collisions as well as with boosting. The center diamond gauge here is our measure of hyper boosting. When this meter slowly fills up over time and peaks, you will be ready to initiate the fastest potential speeds with a ship hyperboost. On the right meter here is our measure of heat buildup in our ship. When we initiate turbo boosts, you will see this meter rise. So watch as I start this lap. See how as I'm turbo boosting at the start, the meter goes up. Eventually, the heat output exceeds the ship's cooling capacity, and we are in an overheating scenario. When we overheat, now boost will start to drain out of our health gauge. Now these two gauges act very differently, as upon cessation of our boosting, the heat gauge will immediately start to drop again as the ship cools off. However, as you can see by the left gauge, our health does not regenerate in time with the heat meter. So when we boost and we tap into our health reserves, it becomes especially critical to recognize that this is not a limitless resource and that we must time our boosting appropriately to get the fastest times. As we approach this straightaway here, watch how I come off the starting line, I'm going in a straight, and eventually I reach into a turn. General advice would suggest that when you are turning, you do not want to drain your boost because you want that meter to drop and recharge in order to achieve boosting capacity once more when we finally get to the next straightaway. So I come around this left, I come around the right. Now, as I start to straighten out, you can see the angle of the track change. Now I reinitiate my boost and you see how my heat meter dropped. So now I have a much greater capacity limit to hit high speeds coming down the straightaway. Now it is worth noting, when we talk about tracks, that environmental hazards can affect the ship's ability to overheat. If we are in hot environments like Tartarus, the ship will overheat faster. If we are in cool environments like Mariana Trench, this meter will rise slower. This will also affect the cooldown rate, so how fast the meter once again drops after an exertion of boost depends on the temperature hazards as well. I would be remiss not to mention too that utilizing the ship brake helps your vehicle to cool off faster. I would advise, though, that you don't utilize this as a crutch to bring down your heat, but rather think of it as a side benefit that you'll receive when utilizing the brake to take sharper turns. Finally, when it comes to ship stats, as that was a major focus of my first episode, when we increase the ship's durability, we increase the capacity for us to boost through our health before encountering overheating scenarios. Conversely, if we boost the thrust potential of the ship, yes, we will get faster speeds, but at the same time, we're going to have that meter rise faster. So just to back up for a second, when it comes to this Sulha build, which I am simply using because I really enjoy the driving style, I know that I need to take boost away here, so then I can reapply only at the points that will grant me the fastest thrust potential. When we come to the hyperboost meter now, for the first 25 seconds of a track, you will not have the capacity to hyperboost, but if you see the meter in the center, it will slowly rise up over time. That means that in the beginning of the track, you have more of an ability to drain your regular boost without penalty. But just know when you'll eventually need to hit hyper boosting spots. In Voyager, I come over the inverted loop. I know I have a jump ahead. I want to make sure that by the time I get through this turn, that my meter here is low. Now you might say, but it looks like your health is very much drained as well. But here is where the health meter can get a bit tricky. Upon keeping your ship out of an overheating situation for roughly 5 seconds, this meter, watch this meter now for the next couple of seconds, will start to re-rise. The problem is if we continue to pound the boost button and we overheat continuously, it will delay the health meter's ability to recharge the ship. Alternatively, if we collide into walls, we will also limit and delay this reset timer. So it's really important if you're running a track like this, that as I'm preparing to see my health gauge start to climb, that I don't hit walls. Now the elephant in the room of Redout 2, of course, is that there are some glitches that we need to be aware of. Things like hitting the track and actually getting a decrease in health, which would stop a hull recharge. I don't want to cover them in this episode, but I'm assuming that this will be fixed in an upcoming patch. For right now, I come over this jump. You saw how I hyper boosted slightly as I came over. So let me just show you that one more time. So watch how, see the meter is green down here. I hyper boost, and then watch this. I stop the hyper boost part way. So I call that a hyper boost cancel. Why would you want to cancel? Because that can, number one, make sure I'm not going too fast into a section I don't want to be going into, which you'll see a little bit later. But secondly, it allows me to time my next hyper boost in the best spot. So right here, as I come over these double hills, I let my health meter go up, I let my heat meter go down, and I let my hyper boost time perfectly to this long straightaway in the double jumps of this track. You'll see one more hyper boost cancel here, but that is simply to prevent me from going too fast into the most treacherous section of the track. Something else to keep note of is that when we land properly, you will get a speed boost and an indication on the HUD. So this first landing is considered good landing. The second is considered a perfect landing. Both of those will grant me a small speed boost, which allows me to efficiently cancel the hyper boost without losing momentum. So when I come around this right, left, right, now I have my meter lower. So watch this again. I come around this double turn. I get to here, small straightaway. Health is starting to come up. Look at the heat gauge. It's low. I have all of this time that I can boost, 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 and you see that stop. So let me back just a couple of frames. Look how closely I push to an overheating scenario, but I don't exceed it. That allows my health meter the delay that it needs to recharge. Remember that 5-second delay. That's critical because we're nearing the end of the track in a really long straightaway. So by the time I get to here, Hyper Boost is ready. I have a clear enough strip of track, and I can fly into the finish for a new world record. Now, something else interesting about hyper boosting when it comes to the tactics of Redout 2 steering is that you will see a slight decoupling of friction when you initiate hyper boost. So watch the ship right there. Did you catch that? It looks like the ship back right corner starts to flail. That means that when I get to my hyper boost, I can align it straight. Now, many of you know me as the low stability guy in Redout 2 shipbuilding. I believe in low stability because it allows me to create more of those drifting opportunities, which are especially familiar to me as a longtime Redout 1 player. And it also allows me to bump up my strafing capacity so I can clear more mistakes that could otherwise arise from imperfect steering directions. I hope this video helps you to recontextualize the way that we can use hyper boosting, normal boosting, and our heat meter to our advantage to achieve your own top times on the Redout 2 leaderboards. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to bringing you even more exciting content in the weeks and months ahead.